picture this. It's 10 years from now. You've just retired. Congratulations. Maybe you're in your 50s or your 60s. Your kids are grown. Maybe you have one or two little grandchildren running around. You've just settled down into your new life. And on one of these days, you wake up late. You eat a nice slow breakfast. You head out the door to take a nice stroll down to the beach because you live near the beach, of course. Right as you're about to step your foot onto the sand, your phone buzzes. You ignore it and keep going because you're retired. You don't have time for anyone else's nonsense, but your phone buzzes again. Annoyed, you glance at your phone. It's your daughter. She needs to cancel her drive out to see you because the traffic lights are out again. You're disappointed but not surprised. The traffic lights go out a lot these days. As you go out around your day, you get more bad news. Your son isn't able to send you that money he owes you because someone got a hold of his e-wallet and stole all his money. Your spouse is upset because none of the exercise machines at the gym she goes to is working. All of the grocery stores are closed because none of the terminals are working. Your neighbor got locked out of his house and needs to spend the night at your place. Oh, and it's your son again, asking to borrow more money. At the end of the day, as you're putting on clean sheets on the pull-out couch for your neighbor, you wonder to yourself, what happens to my nice little retirement? Retirement is not the carefree, relaxing time that I thought it would be. You might be rolling your eyes at this point, and honestly, I don't blame you one bit, because a lot of this sounds a bit far-fetched. Traffic lights not working, e-wallets emptied, grocery stores closing, gym equipment not working, your neighbor getting locked out of his house. Nonsense, right? Well, here's the thing. Every single one of the things that I've just listed have already happened in one form or another, and recently too. And the reason for every single one of them is all the same. Failed cybersecurity. And you know what? Not only have all these things happened as a result of failed cybersecurity, we'll only see more of these attacks happening in the future. Why? Well, because new technology like blockchain, self-driving cars, drones, virtual reality, the metaverse, wearable technology, and smart home devices, our world is becoming more digital and less physical. Think about it. How much time do you spend online every day? I'll actually pause here to let you put your answer in the chat. So go ahead. How much time do you spend online every day? Take like an average. Don't count the time you spend in front of a screen for work. Just count the time that you spend online, maybe shopping or on Facebook or Insta or YouTube, TikTok, whatever have you. What's the average amount of time that you spend online every day? Give it a rough estimate. Go ahead and type the answer in the chat. I'll pause here. All right, do we have some answers coming through? Caitlin, do we have any averages here? Well, since I can't see or hear anything, I'm going to assume that you're answering somewhere in the average range of, see how you compare it to the rest of the United States, 6.5 hours per day. Look at that. According to a 2019 report by Digital Information World, people in the United States spend about 6.5 hours online every day. That equates to 100 days online over the course of a single year. And you know what? This survey was actually taken before the pandemic. And these numbers are only thought to have increased since COVID. So if you're anywhere close to 6.5 hours a day, congratulations, you're the average person who spends part of their life online. What's my point? Well, my point is that our lives are becoming more digital, whether we realize it or not. We spend more time online than we do practically anything else aside from sleeping. Let's take the metaverse, for example. Facebook's new virtual reality platform The metaverse is basically a new take on what being online is today. It's where you can experience anything you want, all without leaving your couch. You can go to a carnival or a music concert or a football game. You can talk to people that are sitting right next to you. You can even buy virtual real estate. Someone recently paid $450,000 to be Snoop Dogg's neighbor in the metaverse. $450,000. I really wish I was kidding. If you're thinking how ridiculous this all sounds and looks, and trust me, I know how ridiculous it all sounds and looks, pause here for a moment. How likely do you think you'll also need to participate in the metaverse in the future, whether you want to or not? Someone recently asked me, will you participate in the metaverse, Naomi? I answered yes, because I don't think I'll have a choice not to. And I think it's completely reasonable to think that. Think about it. Given what we've seen with the evolution of technology and the internet over the past decade alone, how much evolution will we see of the virtual reality worlds like metaverse? How much more of our lives, from company meetings to job interviews to concerts to sporting events, will be held in the metaverse? How much of our lives and identities will happen in the metaverse in 5 years, in 10, how about 50 or 100 years? If you've seen the movie Ready Player One or read the book, you can kind of get the picture of what our world could possibly look like. Our lives and personal identities are becoming more virtual, not less. And this is also true for our companies and organizations, not just for people like you and me. Companies have the cloud, SaaS providers, big data, and a myriad of other tools that help with running business operations. This has been true for some time now, but there's going to only be more of these tools in the future, not less. Whether you know it or not, your company is a technology company. You have a website, you have email addresses, business systems, operational systems, and other pieces of operations that rely on technology. And with technology comes the need for security. But security is not just limited to securing servers and hard drives and files like it used to. No. With the growing interconnectedness of everything, merging our physical lives with the virtual, things like servers and hard drives and files are the least of our concerns. We need to secure traffic lights, ER rooms, our homes, airspace, our roadways. All of these things in our physical world are now connected to the internet, and we have to secure them. Because if we don't, well, I hate to tell you, the things we've seen recently, like hospitals being unavailable to help patients, or grocery stores being closed due to ransomware, and the Colonial Pipeline shutting down gas distribution across the entire eastern seaboard of the United States, all of these things will only increase in the future. So what am I saying? I'm saying that we need to secure our tomorrow by taking action today. Because the decisions that we make today, from the products we design and build, to the services we create, and the people we hire for our teams, every decision that we make today, both large and small, are setting the foundation for tomorrow. And if we want a future that is unencumbered and free from cyber worries, then we need to put security at the forefront of our businesses, communities, and families. The only way we can live in a secure world is if everyone takes responsibility for their personal security, the security of their friends and family, the security of the communities they live in, and the security of the companies they work for. We cannot continue to rely on a handful of people to care about security. Everyone should care about security because we all live together, we work together, we play together. Security is better when more people do it. Security is better when more people take responsibility for the security of their environment. If we make security everyone's responsibility, then problems get caught earlier, problems get caught faster, or they don't become problems in the first place. From the company executive, maybe you, to the politician, the stay-at-home parent, Teachers, nurses, doctors, librarians, lawyers, professional golfers, movie stars, and even the kid working the drive-thru at your local fast food joint. Everyone should care about security. Everyone should be making security a priority. Actually, I'll change that a little bit. Everyone should demand security be a priority at home, at work, at play. No matter where we go, no matter what we do, security should be demanded to be a priority. Okay. So hopefully by now, I've convinced you that we are on the precipice of a very different looking world than what we have going on today. And hopefully I've also convinced you that security is your responsibility and that you should care about it if you want a secure future. But you might be wondering, what are some things that I can do today to help protect myself, my friends and family, and my coworkers against the unknowns of tomorrow? Well, I'm glad you asked, dear listener, because I've made a list. Here it is. 4 things that you can do today as a leader to have a secure tomorrow. Okay, just a quick note here. I'm focusing on business leaders and leaders like yourself, because if you're attending this conference today, most likely you are a leader at your organization. If you're a business leader, then I hope you take this information back to your workplace and start being a champion for security at your company. Advocate for good security practices. Advocate for your security team. Be on their side. Trust me, your security team will thank you. And if you're a security leader or a security person at your organization, this list applies to you too. These are 4 things that everyone can do today to help secure our future for tomorrow. The first thing you can do is recognize the business value of information security. Recognize the business value of information security. Think about your organization for a moment. How is security thought about at your company? Does it have adequate budget, resources, staff? Does the highest security person in the organization have visibility into every aspect of the business and business operations? Is security engaged and consulted with other executives around the business? Does security contribute to high-level strategy, company objectives, and budgetary decisions? You kind of get where I'm going at, right? Does security have access to the CEO and other C-level executives? Out of all those questions, if you answered no to any one of those, then most likely the leaders at your organization do not understand the business value of information security. Information security is a crucial part of the business. A company that understands this invests in its own future by investing in security, by building resiliency into their strategic business operations. A good security team gives companies the ability to innovate in a more secure environment. In other words, security enables the business to increase its competitive advantage at reduced costs and risk. This is the business value that I'm talking about. This is the business value of information security. Good security enables the business. That's a little different than what we've seen in previous decades. But the next generation of security leaders know this. A good CISO of today, a modern CISO of today, is going to recognize the business value of security and help enable the business. The second thing you can do is to make security everyone's responsibility, not just the security teams. What we've done in the past really doesn't work anymore. You can't just hire 1 or 2 people to do security for your entire company and call it a day. You need to make security a primary responsibility for every one of your employees. And yes, I did just say that, a primary responsibility for every one of your employees, no matter who they are and what their role is at your company. Put it on your job descriptions. Put it on everyone's job description. Secure the operations. Secure your company. That is a primary responsibility. Security is done best when everyone does security. You may only have 1 or 2 full-time security employees. I get that. But everyone should care about security. Everyone should think about security, full-time security professional or not. That means we need to take and make security everyone's responsibility. Everyone should be following security best practices. They should consult with the security team whenever they have questions or they need help. And everyone should be reducing the impact of security risk within the organization. Business operations need to follow basic security principles like the principle of least privilege and separation of duties. Employees need to be aware of phishing and smishing attacks, and not just, here's an email that looks suspicious. They actually have to know why it's bad, who's trying to attack them, what they could do with the information if they end up falling for a phishing or smishing attack. Don't just leave it on to the security team to figure out. Software engineers need to level up their secure coding practices. They need to start caring about delivering good software, and good software includes secure software. You can't have just good software that's not secure. There's no such thing. Good software is secure software. Architects need to consider security architecture when building new infrastructure. There's a lot of security frameworks out there, guys, for good security architecture best practices. Look them up. They're out there. A lot of companies are in the cloud now. AWS, Azure, all the major cloud providers have great security guidelines, playbooks, best practices, white papers, all of it is online for free. Your architects should know about these. They should take classes on this. They should get certified on this. They should have people come in to teach them good security architecture best practices. I can tell you there's a lot of architects right now who want to be better at security. They just don't either have the time, they don't have the resources, or they don't have the staff to help train them. So use your security professionals to help train the people doing the work for your company. That's what we're good for. And your senior leaders, very important here. Your senior leaders need to be ultra aware that they are directly targeted by attackers. Now think about that for a second. Insider threat. A lot of people don't understand this, but insider threat is not just malicious insider threat. It can be unintentional too. So if an attacker is targeting someone in the C level, or an attacker is attacking someone in the VP level or any other senior levels, the executives, they have to know those senior people have more scope and more responsibility than anyone else in the company. So of course, they're going to be a prime attack target for any of the criminals. And so they might fall for a phishing attack. But what is that damage that VP could do? Or what is that damage that CFO can do? Quite a lot. And so your senior leaders need to be aware of this. They need to know that they need to take extra precaution when it comes to protecting the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of their critical systems and data. They have a huge part to play in this. And if your senior leaders are ignoring security, or they think it's just that one person's job, you're setting yourselves up for failure. And if we want a secure tomorrow, we need everyone playing on the same field, which is security is everyone's responsibility. Third, give security a seat at the table. Please. Can't stress this enough. Give security a seat at the table. The higher up the table in the org chart, the better. Executive table, perhaps. Security is a critical part of the business because all it takes is one click, one phish, or one mistake to literally take down your entire organization. If you don't believe me, you're in the dark. You are just putting your hand in the sand. Security must be empowered to build a strategic roadmap and given resources in order to build a good, solid information security program. And this program should not be pushed to the side or hidden. It needs to be visible to everyone in the organization. And employees should see both the security leader and the security team as trusted, critical resources. So give security a seat at the table. Don't bury security under IT, which, by the way, presents many, many conflicts of interest. And in my opinion, is the cause and root cause of many major security breaches. Think about it. Security cares about the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of critical systems and data. We are risk management for the business. IT, traditionally internal IT, focuses on business operations and efficiency, which is another word for availability. We want the availability of critical systems and data, right? So if IT is the availability, security is the confidentiality, integrity, and availability, it makes so much more sense to either be peers with IT, security and IT, or have IT under security. Now, I started a conversation the other day on LinkedIn. A lot of people, didn't like that idea, but think about this. In previous generations, where the CIO ruled all things security and technology, we had a very large power play. We had a very large ego of the CIO who wanted to control security, which used to be a very technical function. I get that. I lived that. I grew up under that at a big company called Vanguard. I don't know if you heard this. I was 12 years there. So I understand how we've come from that place, which used to be very technical. Security is a very technical thing. But now that we've moved into the cloud and that IT is no longer really building things, we've got SaaS, right? We've got a lot of these software vendors that you just purchase licenses for. You're not really building business systems as much as you're used to in the past, right? The CIO role is evolving. So think about this. If CIO is going away, the security is now more important because security will never go away. Security is always important. It's always going to have technology to secure. It's always going to have business operations to make sure you mitigate any critical security vulnerabilities. All these things are always going to be important. So if the CIO is no longer as important and it's just the evolution of the role, it makes a lot of sense. The CISO now, CISO, is now always going to be more important. So in my mind, the evolution of the CISO and the CIO role are probably best to be peers, or the CISO is now leading the CIO, or the CIO reports to the CISO. All right. So if you don't really agree with that there, think about it through your organization. Obviously, it depends on your organization. You might have a very strong champion for security at another level within the C-level. That's great too. What we're really trying to do here is make sure there's no conflict of interest between your security teams and your IT teams. You want them playing nice together. You want to have the right impactful work and focus on the right things, right? The biggest risk to the companies. Those are the priorities of your company. It should be on your roadmap for 2022. So elevate security to at least be peers with IT, have security sit alongside IT and engineering in the org chart, include security and strategic planning, which should be happening now, strategic planning for 2022, and budgetary decisions. All those discussions should include security. Ask security, what's on your roadmap for this year and how is it aligned to business objectives? Modern CISOs understand this now. We don't want to just work in the dark. We don't want to work in silos. We want to enable the business. So security executives like myself are understanding that we want to align all our security initiatives and projects and decisions with what's best for the business. Security is a business enabler. So give security a chance to be that business enabler, to help your business operate faster and more securely. And that can only happen if you give security a seat at the table. It won't happen when security is pushed under a rug or stuck under IT, right? You got to give them a chance to be business enablers. And finally, the fourth and most important thing you can do is hire and train the next generation of security professionals. If we're serious about winning the war on cybercrime, not just as business leaders, but as private citizens that genuinely care about protecting our friends, family, and community, the way we recruit, hire, and train the next generation of cybersecurity professionals must change from what is being done today. We must stop requiring years of experience in CISSPs on entry-level job descriptions. We must stop listing 2 to 3 pages of duties on the same job descriptions. And what we need to do this now. Not next week, not next month, not next year, not in 5 years. We need to do this now. The new folks that we train today will be the veteran fighters that we have tomorrow, that we need tomorrow. And if you're sitting there and be like, hey, Naomi, cybersecurity is not an entry-level job. Well, I'll say 2 things. First, there's always entry-level work. There always is. There's always grunt work. Trust me. Asset management, all this like PII discovery, all this stuff, anyone with a spreadsheet can do. You don't need a CISSP. You don't need a CS degree. You just need someone who's good at critical thinking, good at asking good questions, and has great work ethic and high integrity, I suppose. And I'll tell you another thing. Just because cybersecurity is difficult for you to learn doesn't mean that cybersecurity is difficult for someone else, especially now that we have resources, white papers, protocols, best practices, books, YouTube videos, Udemy, all these wonderful and low cost options for people to learn cybersecurity are all available now, which wasn't true when we started growing up in security, right? I'm 40 years old. I remember the time when I didn't have the internet. I remember learning how to type. The kids these days, we call them technical or digital natives. My 8-year-old is already coding in Python. I'm telling you, kids these days are smart. Give them a chance. They're going to be able to, they're very resourceful. They can go out and find all this information by themselves and they can learn. But what they do need is someone to mentor and guide them and give them safe spaces to learn, to give them an environment, a production environment for them to get their hands on. And you're going to go slow with them. You're not going to throw them and give them admin and root to all the things on day one. That would be stupid. You would go in and you would give them very little by little things that you want them to learn, how to do cybersecurity analysis very well, how to do threat intelligence very well. Like, you're going to give them very little things, not all the things, and you're going to train them one by one by one. All the things you want them to be as a good information security professional. And now here's another thing that I hear a lot. What if they just leave? What if I train them? What if they just leave? That would be awful. Well, actually, it's okay if they leave, right? Because if the goal is to increase the numbers of cybersecurity professionals, does it matter if they leave your company to do security at a different company? We're all on the same team. There's no such thing as me at Beam Technologies versus Delta Dental, who's one of our major competitors. I wouldn't care if somebody who went from my company to a competitor, because we at the security level are not competitors. We want the same things. We share the same goals. We want to win the war on cybercrime. Why does it matter if my cybersecurity analyst takes a better job somewhere else? Now it's my job to make her life easy. So, like, not easy, but she understands her career. She has a career path here. She's paid well. She's given a lot of autonomy and responsibility. Those are the kind of things that will keep your people at your company. So if you're worried that you're going to just train someone and they're going to leave, well, then give them reasons to stay. And I love this one. I want to tell you, I once had someone tell me, I was talking to a CISO friend and he's just going to not train next generation because every single one of them have left for better opportunities, right? I think this was one of the CISOs at like a home improvement store, a very big home improvement store. And he said, I'm just going to not going to do it because, they always leave. And then I was wondering, like, well, if they all leave, what's the common denominator in this equation? Is it not you? Because the common denominator in all your problems is you. Like, help us understand this, right? It's just because, okay, maybe, hey, I can't give them enough salary. I can't give them enough benefits, whatever it is. Well, work with them. See what kind of training you can get. There are options. There are choices that you can make to help grow that next generation. And that's what I'm begging you for. You as a business leader, you as a security leader, we need more people in cybersecurity. Think about the burnout that we're experiencing across the industry. We just don't have enough people doing our jobs. We're doing 2 or 3 jobs on any given day. We spend hours doing all the work and we're drowning. We're asking for help. And the only way we're going to do this is if we hire more people, train the next generation. We can't just outpoach one another to solve our own problems. We are one team. We are not me security team versus you security team. We are one security team, one security universe. We need to hire and train the next generation of security professionals. And yes, I want to stress this means hiring entry-level folks. Can they give you ROI on day one, hit the ground running on day one? No, but you can still find them work to help them grow. And by the way, does anyone hit the ground running on day one? Like anybody? You still have to learn your company. You still have to learn your business operations, how you make money, how you do all the things in your security or your company. No one hits the ground running on day one. So get that out of your minds. Hire the next generation of entry-level people, of cybersecurity professionals. Hire entry-level folks. Remember, everything in cybersecurity can be learned because it's true. I mean, we all learned it, right? Someone taught it to us, we wrote a book, or someone made an online course or a video that we watched and put together a framework. We didn't just wake up and know this stuff. We learned it through hard work and effort. And the next generation is willing and ready to learn and put in the effort to be awesome team members if we just gave them a chance. All right. So quickly recap this list. I know I'm coming up on time here. 1, understand the business value of security. 2, make security everyone's responsibility. 3, give security a seat at the table. And 4, hire and train the next generation of cybersecurity professionals. These are the things that I'm begging you, dear listener, to start doing for your company and for your family, for your friends, for your community. Because I want you to think hard. Please think about what kind of future you want. Do you want future A, retire on the beach without any worry of broken traffic lights, stolen e-wallets, or locked out neighbors? Or do you want future B, which is the future that I see us barreling towards, continuing the status quo and live in a reality in which all our everyday lives are disrupted by failed cybersecurity? What future do you want? And are you willing to fight for that future? Because I hope you are. I'll just leave this last plug here. Cybersecurity Gatebreakers Foundation is a nonprofit created to break down the gatekeeping mentality in cybersecurity, because experience doesn't just happen. We need to give people with high potential chances. We need to start taking people as they are, hungry, intelligent, great people, brilliant learners, and give them a chance. Because we're never going to win the war on cybercrime with the status quo. We're never going to win if we continue with how we've been doing things. We need a change, and that change starts with us. That change starts with you. If you're willing to help us fight, we are looking for strategic partners and donations to help make our vision a reality. So please contact me at naomi@cybersecuritygatebreakers.org. Thank you. Back to you, Kim.
Okay, well, Naomi is not going anywhere yet because we have a ton of comments and questions. But I do want to encourage everyone, please follow Naomi on LinkedIn. I found her last year. I try to follow influential leaders out there. She has a lot to say on LinkedIn, and I don't know about her other social platforms, but I'm sure she has a lot to say on those as well. She's not afraid to say what she feels, and love watching her comments and her posts out there. So for all the security folks, it's definitely worth following her. So let's start from the beginning, because we have a ton of people that are watching this and a lot of comments. Valentino said, is Metaversa really going to be mass adoption? Is Metaversa really going to be mass adoption?
Oh, that's a really good question. I've heard both sides. I've heard like, oh, people are going to hate it. It's so cringy, right? And then other people who are in the younger generation be like, yeah, I could see myself doing that. You know, they already live one foot into the virtual anyway. I think as the generations go on, it's very natural for us to just keep moving towards the direction that we are. Momentum is kind of on their side, right? The metaverse side. Think about how we've come from something like a Second Life, which is technology that we saw in the 90s, early 2000s. And you can live virtual lives using avatars and kind of just hang out and having a second life, right? So that was kind of the first pass. Now we're looking at the evolution of that using the metaverse. People have got the virtual reality goggles, the Oculus goggles and glasses, and we're just going to see more and more and more of that. As time goes on, people are just going to be like, I'm just more comfortable with it. Think about all the digital natives in Gen Z. They're very, very comfortable with technology. They live so much with their face on the phone, in the phones, right? Like it's almost a shame they don't even look up and see the beautiful world around them. They're just on their phones. So yeah, I think even though the data isn't showing anything either way, personally, I know from what we've seen in the past with technical evolution, yes, I think metaverse will be highly adopted.
I have to comment on that. That drives me crazy. We were driving through the beautiful mountains last summer with my daughters, one in her 20s and one a teenager. They will not look up. I'm like, look at these beautiful mountains. You know, it's crazy. You're missing the world. So yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm sure you have the same issue because you even have younger ones.
I have younger ones, yeah.
Doing the same things.
They're in Roblox quite a lot. Yep.
Yep. So Elliot said, I think that depends. Facebook does not appeal to early adopters. So they're going to be put up against a huge slope.
Yeah, Facebook is trying to pivot here because everyone knows younger generation would rather do TikTok and Instagram. Facebook is for old people. And I feel terrible because I'm like, oh yeah, I remember Facebook not even being a thing. So yeah, he's right. Facebook is now pivoting towards the metaverse. This is kind of the rebrand, their time to try to attract a younger audience to, by the way, collect their data and sell it, right? That's their whole business model. Anyway, so the idea now is to get that younger generation. If it's not the metaverse, it's going to be another thing. Another company is going to try this. We're just going to see constant iterations of this. But the idea, the principle behind it, which is like, hey, live an awesome second life because you just want to escape the one that you currently have, or you want to be someone different. You want to be somebody who's important and beautiful and rich, and you can only do that in your second life, right? We're seeing a lot of these social media, influencers on TikTok and on Instagram. They have these perfect lives on social media when it's nothing even close to that in their real life. They're miserable and depressed. But on Instagram, you can't even tell that. They're always on some sort of beach somewhere in Bali, right? And so this is what I'm thinking. If not Facebook, if not the metaverse, it'll be something else. It'll continue to evolve.
Then I have a question. There's a lot, Naomi. And we still have plenty of time. Giovanni said a company will make a popular version. This is more a question of who and not if, which leads to the need of greater security.
Yeah, the security team will always, or not just the team, but the world needs to take security more seriously. And I talked to you before this event started, Kim, and I said, I have very selfish reasons for having the message that I do. Like, I want to retire. I want future A. I want that retirement, and I want to play with my grandkids with no worries about safety and for where my money is going. Like, I want us to have with a good life. Why can't I want that? And so I fight so hard for the next generation because I know they're going to be the ones filling our shoes. And we need so many more of that. Think about the statistics out there. 315,000 unfilled jobs in the United States alone, over 3.5 million by some estimates across the world of unfilled cybersecurity jobs. We are hungry and desperate for new talent. And it doesn't matter if you went to a boot camp or university or you're self-taught. Like, we need all of you guys. We need every single one of you because that's how dire it is, at least to me. Because I can see a world, if we continue the status quo, that there won't be the everyday safety that we have now. And we're only seeing little bits of it now. Colonial Pipeline, there was a the water treatment plant down in Florida. Like, there's so many things that are just constantly coming up where I'm like, first of all, that shouldn't even be facing the internet. Like, some of these ICS systems and OT systems are like, why are you on the internet? But here's the thing, like, the companies only know one thing. The companies only know how to make money. So if their answer is to make money, they're not going to think security. And so when we start saying security is everyone's responsibility, we need more people in security. We need everyone doing security. That's what I mean. I need everyone doing security. And we also need those security professionals to come up as the next generation. We need both.
Keith said, shouldn't security be embedded into all aspects of the business and not created and maintained as a standalone island?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that goes to the core of my message. Security is everyone's responsibility. So it goes from the top down, it takes those senior leaders, the C-level, CEO, CFO, COO, CIO, CTO, right? All those people need to know that security is a primary responsibility of their jobs if they at all care about their customers and their company that they lead and their products and their services. Like, it all comes together. And in fact, there's so much research out there that shows that companies that actually do this very well enable security to enable the business, let security be a core part of their business, they actually do really, really well in terms of revenue and retained customers. So if you think about it from that perspective, it helps their business grow. Why not try it this way instead of staying with the status quo, which is like shunting security down under IT, like 3 levels down, and not getting them the visibility across the organization to help enable and secure the business.
So I'm going to read a few of these that kind of go together. They're more comments. Edward said, technology is not security and security is not technology. Navid said, she's absolutely crushing it. Good job, Naomi. Viral said, love this topic. Hire more entry-level folks with the right job descriptions. Randy said, it's better to train your people and have them lead than to not train them and have them stay. Before I read the last 2, I'll let you comment on all those.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with every single one of those. The one about technology and security are not the same. Yeah, for sure. If we see what we've seen in the past, technology kind of leads security. Think about like, the Internet of Things, IoT, like the S in IoT stands for security. Like, that's the joke. Right. So think about like your Google Home devices, Alexa, and all those Ring, doorbell, like all those smart home devices really don't have good security principles built in. Like they really don't. So like we need to get back to the basics. We literally have to tell everyone like the following things. Don't put internet facing systems that have critical data on them. Like don't make it publicly available, right? Put it behind a NAT. Like there's some very, very basic security architecture things that everyone should really know about. We should start training kids as they're growing up about what privacy is, like basic security hygiene, using a password manager, turning on 2FA, like all these things need to be started very early, taught through school, teach people security architecture, teach people all these things that we just right now hand over to security people. Like, I think it's a very, very basic thing, just like finance. You should learn, you should know how the internet works. You should know how attackers can hurt you. Like all these things, I think are very easy to teach and easy to learn. If you take the right teacher and the right student, you know, in the right environment, magic can happen.
This comment, actually, it goes hand in hand with why there's such a high burnout. It says they really hate training or investing in us. They expect us to know everything, and that's just irrational and unrealistic. And then Adam said, very glad this was discussed as someone eagerly looking for an entry level in cybersecurity opportunity. Ryan said, I like the idea of the CISO and the CIO being peers or even placing the CISO above the CIO. Have you seen this in practice? In which industry?
Yeah, I mean, technically, I'm living that right now. So I'm the security executive at Beam Technologies, Beam Dental. Our vision is to make employee benefits just a lot nicer experience and a lot easier to work with across brokers and partnerships. So I actually manage the IT team, and I feel like that really works for at least our industry, for our company of our size. We're about 330 employees. About 50 to 80 million revenue every year annualized. So it's just the niceness of it. Now, I am peers with engineering. That's a totally different thing. Engineering, we've got our software developers, our platform developers, our SREs. That is a whole separate shop. So I manage IT, which is internal business systems and operations, and managing it, make sure it's efficient, make sure it's secure. I think that works really well. Now, that's just my personal reference. However, I've seen things in the different other people, authors, influencers, they're also saying the same things, which is, hey, now that security is, we all know it's important. And IT is more about managing vendors at this point, right? Everyone's in the cloud. No one's building data centers anymore. Like it's shifted. So why not try this model where now IT is reporting to security and security is peers with engineering, which is like the external systems, the products and services that you build for your customers. That's a little bit different.
Asher has a question. He said, for those who are fresh out of college, would you recommend working in a software development role for a few years before entering cybersecurity in order to have strong background knowledge of general software infrastructure before working in the specialized field of cybersecurity?
I mean, if you want to break into application security, that's a really good place to start. That's actually how I started. I was a software developer for a good number of years at Vanguard. And then from there, I just got into application security. I was one of their pen testers on their penetration testing team. So that's how I broke into security. And it started because I had a good foundation in computer science principles. So I think, yes, if you want to break into pen testing or anything else like that in application security, yeah. But if your interest really lies in security analysis, like cybersecurity analysts, threat intelligence, you know, all those other kind of things that aren't really application security, cloud security is not application security, right? You want to really know who you want to be and then work backwards from there. So if you know you want to be a cloud security engineer, you know, start with just cloud engineering, right? Like just learn the cloud, play in the cloud, learn best practices, maybe build your own environment, build something, integrate something, and then from there, add security on top. So that's really what I advise people to do in their current roles. And if we make security everyone's responsibility, it's very easy then to find security things to do in your current job day to day. So if you're in a job and say, hey, I want to break into security, what you want to do is find all the security activities that you're doing, list them out, and see from there what else you can do to help out your security team. Because I guarantee you, there's somebody in your security team that would love to have the advocates and the champions across the organization. So if you're sitting there, you're not in security and you want to break in, you take your current role, you talk to your security team and say, hey, how can I be a champion and advocate for your security guidelines and best practices? How can I help? They're going to be like, awesome. They're like, here are some of my things that you can help us with. Like tell people to turn on their 2FA, tell people to use a password manager, don't reuse passwords, like help get security involved with your own team. That would be a really, really good way of just building bridges and understanding what security needs to do in an organization.
The questions and comments keep rolling in. I have Ron, who is a CISO, said, nice job. I agree. We are all one. The bad actors know our weak points. How do you find a place to collectively put our efforts together and go on the offensive?
Okay. If we're talking about hacking back, I definitely do not recommend hacking back. Attribution is hard, right? That's the thing. So do not hack back. Now, going on the offensive and trying to, fight back against cybercrime, really the only thing we can do as individuals is secure our own communities and companies. What we can do is start putting pressure on our politicians and the people who are leading our federal agencies to be like, hey, make security a priority, just as important as things like abortion and, civil rights. Like those things are important also, and now make security just as important as those issues. So you got to call your senators, you got to call your representatives. I can't tell you how many people don't even know who their senators and representatives are. Like get to know their names, email them, talk to them, like get on their radar and just say cybersecurity is important. And I do follow some of the senators. Klobuchar is a really, really strong advocate for cybersecurity. Now, I didn't vote for her in the primaries, right? But I would have loved to see her kind of elevate that. And it's the same way. You got to make your senators and your representatives aware. That's one way we can go on the offensive.
Janice said, Naomi, do you see any momentum in the role of the vCISO, Business Information Security Officer, sits between CISO and CIO to further advocate the business and security as an enabler? Oh, yeah. The BISO, kind of a fairly new role to the business. But think about how if security is everyone's responsibility, bigger companies hire something called a Business Information Security Officer. And I love this idea. It's basically like a little non-technical, but you're still translating between what the security team wants and telling the business how to operate. So it's that translator in between security and the business, and the BISO sits right there to help with that communication and helping build good, sound security practices within that business vertical. So every business vertical almost has their own BISO. The CISO helps oversee general security initiatives and activities and things like that. But then the BISO is now the translator for that business. So that's what a BISO does. I love this idea. I wish I could see this more often. I do see this title coming up more and more, but it is, again, for those bigger companies that have business lines and verticals and not really the need for too many of those, I guess. So it really just depends on your company size. Did you know that 99.7% of all U.S. businesses are small and mid-sized, which means 500 employees or fewer? So I have all these statistics. So 99.7% of all U.S. businesses, small or mid-sized. So not every single one of our U.S. businesses are going to need a BISO. What you can do in your small or mid-sized business, you can act as a security champion for your company. If your company doesn't have a full-time security person, you want to say, hey, what can I do to help my company be more secure? You can start bringing in recommendations and suggestions. You can take on work for free. You can just be like, hey, me as a sales executive, for example, like I want to help do security at my company. How can I do that? Well, maybe there are some activities that the IT needs help with, the IT team. Everyone's got more work than they can handle, right? So it'd be like, hey, I'm just going to be an intern for you for free. Why don't you just give me some of the work that you need to do? Asset inventory is a really good one. Let me help you with that, right? Like I'm really good with spreadsheets and organization. And you just sell yourself to that security team or the IT team, and you'll eventually take more and more responsibility to do cybersecurity full time. And that's what we want. I've noticed that many women are taking that role in the larger companies. And I don't want to make anyone mad at me, but do you see that as well? And do you have an opinion on why we're seeing a lot of women in that role?
I have noticed that too. I never really considered that it was just like a woman thing. And here's like the weird thing about me. I'm very, very like anti-woke. Like I don't care what you look like, if you're white or black or anything. I was like I'm very merit-based. If you're good at something, then awesome. But I will say another thing that I have read, and these are scientific studies, but women in general do score higher on emotional intelligence tests, and really, really good vCISOs have that ability to translate between security and the business. And that takes good communication skills, good soft skills, right? Good collaboration skills. So that's where I think women could be better just innately. So again, that's not true for everyone. I am very anti-woke. So like you won't hear me say stuff like, all these things are important because of race or whatever, but it really is just you as a person, an individual, have your own set of identities and diversity of thought. It doesn't matter what you look like or what your skin color is, right? Like it is really about your ideas and your passions, your soft skills, your characteristics, your personality, all those things make you unique. It doesn't matter what you look like.
And I didn't expect any other comment but that from you, but I have to throw that out there. So,
okay.
Yeah, Sharon said to break into cybersecurity, which is more valuable, acceptable these days, experience or certifications?
Well, absolutely. Experience always trumps the certifications. However, if you can't get that experience full time, like that's what companies really look for. What you want to do again is be that champion for the security team. Be like, what other security activities can I do? So in your resume, then you're going to list out the security activities that are relevant for your job. You'd be like, hey, as a database administrator, I did security configuration and baselining for the security team. Like those are the things that you're going to put on your resume that really stand out for when you start applying for security roles. You can say, yeah, even though I'm a database administrator, I have also done these things. And every single role has security. It's part of your responsibility, your primary responsibility. So you can very naturally fit those in to the bullets of what you've done for that role.
And I have a couple of comments over here on the screen that my tech team didn't put in. So since we have 7 minutes left, let me cover them. Adam said companies also need to start understanding and taking blockchain technology seriously since it can contribute greatly to cybersecurity infrastructure in the coming years. We're already seeing this take place at a lower scale today in certain areas.
Yeah, I totally agree there. Nothing really else to say.
Okay. And then just some other, Edward said, in a matrixed organization, the vCISO has been around since the 90s. That's a comment. Sharon said, we already covered that. Just scrolling to see if there's anything else we missed. And that somebody asked if the recordings will be available. Yes, they will be. Everything will be on demand until Tuesday. If you missed any of this, it'll replay itself at the end of the day. And then somebody said, I believe that if an organization adequately compensates its cyber workforce and does not overwork them, they probably won't leave, which you probably agree with. I think the rest are all just comments, people saying, great job. Thank you, Naomi. This was fabulous. It goes on and on and on. I have to say, we've been doing this almost 2 years, and this is the most chatter we've had in a chat box since our very first virtual event. So awesome. Congrats on that. Is there any last words that you want to leave with our viewers?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I love to just say, if you're struggling to attract entry-level talent, or you're kind of still not a believer, I'm going to ask you to do one thing, and you can apply this to your entire life. So I love doing this, but I love seeing potential in people. I love just noticing how people are smart. I don't ask myself if this person is smart. If I'm talking to them, I say to myself, I change my mindset. I say like, how is this person smart? And I always, without fail, find something to learn from that person, whether it be like a 5-year-old, and I'm not kidding you, you can learn something from everyone. You just have to change your mindset. So me as a security executive, I always do it this way. I am not the smartest person in the room by far, right? Like I want to hire people who are smarter than me. I want to hire people who can do work. And when I ask them, and in my mind, how is this person smart? What kind of potential do they have? How can they help my team and my organization? That's the kind of questions that I ask. I don't just look at experience. I don't just be like, all right, you got enough bullet points here from your previous job, you're in. Like, I don't actually say that. I actually look for potential by asking them the right questions during the interview. So I say, tell me about something that you've learned that was difficult in the past. I had somebody who came from an opera singing background. She learned Italian and German on her own. Like those are very, very difficult things to do. And can you take that same ability to learn and the same ability to communicate, right? Can you use that in a cybersecurity job? Yes. These are the things that I've done over the course of the years where I'm just like, why doesn't anyone else do this? We can find such high potential candidates just by asking ourselves, how is this person smart? Rather, is this person smart? So I do challenge you guys, if you're listening to this and you're a hiring manager or an executive, like ask yourself, maybe there's some potential out there that I just haven't switched my mind over to see. So please ask yourself, how is a person smart? Change your mindset to find potential in everyone.
And we have one more question, and I feel like we do have to address it because it definitely goes along with your message. What would you, Navid, going back to Navid, he says, what would you recommend to someone that has their BA in CyberSec, CCNA, CYSA, plus 3 years XP in Cyber Plus, 10 years XP in IT overall, but still is made to feel inadequate by employers and recruiters?
Yeah, Navid, I'm sure you're frustrated here, but again, look to yourself, like really look at yourself and say, objectively, what's the biggest common denominator? What is the common denominator in all your problems? And you're going to have to take a look at yourself, Navid. I know it's going to be a little painful, but maybe you just don't have a skill, like a soft skill or the way to communicate or to sell yourself. Like all of these things you can learn. Here's another thing, have that growth mindset. You can learn how to be better at empathy and learn how to be better at communication. You just have to really work for it. And so I will tell you, I was terrible at this stuff, like terrible at soft skills. But since I've recognized that I was very bad at it, I was able to grow. So once you recognize, hey, maybe it's me, maybe it's not the employers who just don't see my potential or whatever, like don't put the blame on them, put the blame on yourself, and you'll see yourself grow just from changing that mindset. Have that growth mindset, fix yourself, and you'll see major, major, major changes, especially in your interviews and everything else like that. So, and I will tell you one more thing. A recent ISACA study showed that the number one missing skill in all cybersecurity professionals is soft skills. It's also the number one skill that hiring managers are looking for. So please work on their soft skills, work on all things critical thinking and emotional intelligence. All these things are soft skills and they're incredibly important. I can't state that over too much. Overly state that.
Yeah,
understate that.
That's totally excellent advice because going back to in-person events, we still have about 50% of the IT people that are more comfortable staying at home because they don't have to have those, soft skills of talking to people. It's a safer place for them at home. And I'm not talking about COVID. I'm just talking about, they're in a safer environment because they don't have to interact with people. And, you do grow from interacting with people and, having conversations. So I kudos to that advice. I think that's really great advice. So Naomi Buckwalter, thank you so much for being our keynote speaker today. You're amazing. Everyone follow her on LinkedIn. She posts every day, many times a day sometimes. She has crucial things she says, and she has other industry leaders that follow her and comment. So she's definitely a force to be reckoned with. So thank you for being here, Naomi, and we look forward to having you on a future show.
Thanks, Kim. Love to be here.